Good, mate. I'm also hearing
Go on.
like the what's it called? I'm hearing
An echo?
the echo, yeah, because it's going live. So I just got to make sure that that's turned down.
Okay. I'm not getting anything like that. It just sounds
Yeah,
okay.
because you're not on YouTube. But I've got 0 subscribers, so I wouldn't be too nervous today. 0 subscribers on YouTube, but that's cool because it
Gotta
means that
start somewhere.
it means that we can like build it up without any nerves.
Build it up and build it up. Hold on. That's a bit too bright. That. Now that we have
Um,
a summer. Now that we have a summer. Just for a day. Don't tell anyone though.
Checking this is all working, right?
Which is great. So we're going to go live and no one's watching.
Well,
Listen,
I put
yeah,
a message. I put a message out on BitChute and on Facebook and on Instagram, so there might be a couple of people, and but don't no pressure because whatever happens, I'm gonna chop up the best bits and then use that for content.
hey.
Can't believe I'm using
Oh
that
yeah, but
word now, but I am.
yeah, but will the actual each live one will stay on your YouTube thing, right?
Well, at the end of it, I'll be able to.
I'm
I'll
up as
have it. At the end of it, I'll have it, and then I'll be able to do. I'll probably just keep it as it is, but I could then chop it up. But yeah, I will keep it as a 1 hour thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have a record every week of the chat. And
That's yeah.
obviously it might not be you every week, it might be somebody else.
Some other poor bastard.
Some some other one, but it'd be good to have you quite regular because then we can, you know, just do the usual sort of thing that I
Absolutely.
think we've had about 10 of these podcasts over the last few years, and I've always I've never been sort of lost for something to say. We've usually gone right to the end and
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
fine because I think a lot. Well, for me, I would get nervous about this sort of thing because I'll be like, I don't think I've got that much to say, and I don't think anyone wants to hear what I have to say. But actually, everything I've been listening to during this week,
Mm.
because obviously I've been doing the postman job, I I've been listening to loads of stuff because I've like been walking 4 hours a day, and like I got all that information now. Now I can put it out to you. You do the same thing to me, and then at the end of it, I don't know. It's like just a way to externalize it all, and because
Yes.
the world is so crazy at the moment, it's like you need to. I think a lot of people are just blocking so much of this information off, and like not
Yeah.
they don't want to go into it, and I don't even talk about a lot of this stuff with
But
most
it's
people.
hard. It's like a half and half. My lady was in a bakery the other day having a coffee, and she got chatting to some older lady next to her, and eventually the woman turned to her and said, "Isn't it a weird world?"
Hmm.
So there are people who get it.
But
There's people who know they know something's going on.
and what was she referring to in that instance?
Just how weird things are. Not anything
Also, it was just
specific.
a random comment.
Yeah, but the more you speak to other people, like, oh, yeah. Are we live now? Are we?
Oh, it's live. Yeah, it's live. And
Oh, yay!
I could even do, I've worked out how to share my screen. So if I can even like share
Oh,
maybe a couple of videos at some point and
there's,
see if that works.
when you say the fact that there's no one watching, right, apart from the government. So there
Yeah.
is somebody, right?
77th Brigade. I don't think they're that interested in me. I'm not
No,
that
you
big of a
are.
deal.
Yeah, but maybe they are. Maybe they are. You don't know. I'm reminded of I got an album from years and years ago of the American comedian Andrew Dice Clay. You probably
Mhm.
never heard of him, but he definitely wouldn't get airplay today. He was extremely offensive to everybody, but very funny. And
Andrew Dice Clay.
yeah, and he did a piece in his act at one point where he was doing a small club, and he tried to get it down to nothing. He goes, "I don't want any laughter because this is real comedy. Nothing, just got nothing." And so we're starting with no one, right? We're starting in exactly the right place with fucking no one's watching, Tommy.
He said he didn't want anyone laughing.
Yeah, it's an audio recording. He did a thing in this nightclub over 2 nights in about 1989. It's very interesting, some lovely stuff in it, but it's just this thing about this. This isn't about laughter. He goes, it's about comedy. I don't want to hear anything. I want nothing. And other people have said it. You know, apparently the secret of real comedy is that half the audience are laughing hard and the other half are horrified.
Right. Like polarizing type of
Not
comedy.
so much polarizing as if you're trying to please everybody, you know,
That's
you're,
certainly true. And that's like something that like I've leaned into over the last few years is because I think a lot of people at the beginning of the 2020 madness, they had like quite good lives and they had quality. Some of them had like big YouTube channels and they were actually quite successful and they were doing quite well. So that's probably why people didn't want to always just say what they felt. But because I didn't have anything like that, maybe that was part of the reason that it was easier for me to just to say what I thought because I thought I've got nothing to lose.
yeah,
And
exactly. It's just yeah, say your thing. What you're doing is the same as anybody, like yourself, making music. You don't know if anybody's going to hear it.
well, yeah, that's the other side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so but you've still got to get it out there. If you don't get it out, no one's ever going to hear it. Right?
Mm,
Chance of hearing it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. We're gonna make another video. You know, did you see the one Disobey I put out? The video for that.
I think so. Yeah, the actual for the track.
It was made in Leeds. It was just a really well made video, and I'd never made a music video like that before. And I was like so like amazed by the by my mate and what he did. He just like made it into something else because he just like told a story with the video.
Yeah, good. Well, a good video maker can really change. Can really do something special.
Hmm.
Yeah. Did you
Um,
did you watch that link that I sent you? That 1.5 hour.
you know what? I didn't, but that I didn't. Is that important?
Oh, it's so good. Yes. Oh, okay. So it was Donut. You know the American guy. This is Donut with Illuminati News. He's an American guy, young guy, very good, and he's
Hmm.
been doing stuff for a long time now. And he started to interview other more. He did a really good interview with Jordan Maxwell before he died. If you know, Jordan Maxwell's very well known in the truth movement, whatever you want to call it, as he was doing research in the 80s and doing talks in the 90s and the 2000s. And he's all about
Never heard
language.
of him though.
Okay, very interesting person to get into. So
Jordan
this one that
Maxwell.
I sent you, he's interviewing a guy called James Tunney, who's Irish, and this guy was pulling out information that I hadn't heard before. You know, like if you watch a lot of stuff or you listen to a lot of stuff, eventually you're going to get repeats, right? So you might watch a talk that somebody has for an hour and you know 45, 50 minutes of it, right? They might bring some other little bits to the table.
Hmm.
But most you go, oh yeah, I know this, and I know, oh, that's interesting, and da da da. Well, this guy for 1.5 hours, the other guy was as he was talking, the other guy was doing what you said of going on a screen share and pulling stuff up that was relevant to what the guy was saying.
Hmm.
Okay. And part of that talk is he was going back quite far into history, like 200, 250 years, maybe more, where people were talking about or theorizing using electricity or what they call mesmerism as well to affect people. Can we change or make somebody do something? Right, which is
Using electricity to change
using electricity,
people.
which is kind of what that is, and you know 5G and all these other things that would have an effect on somebody. My cousin was saying they used it, I believe, in Melbourne during some of the protests for the lockdowns there. They bombarded people with something, and one of my friends, we were talking to them today actually about it. People went home from this thing and felt quite unwell for quite some days.
Hmm.
So in this with this Tunney guy, he's talking about it, and he's talking about, which you may or may not have heard of Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Was he used to live in London at one point, and a few years ago they dug down. They were doing somebody bought the house and was doing something, and they dug down into the cellar and they found a lot of fragments of bone. I believe like 1,000 pieces of bone of different individuals. So people were saying, "Oh, is he a murderer? Is he a paedophile? Did he kill children?"
All right.
This guy's saying that he was connected to, because it turns up in other documents, people connected to this idea of can we use electricity? Can we change people? Can we resurrect them? Right? And he said this is why the book Frankenstein is called Frankenstein, because it's taken from Benjamin Franklin. They were there were body snatchers in those times that used to take bodies for medical experimentation and autopsies. Grave snatching was a big thing, or grave robbing, right? It was a big thing. And so he said that's what this is connected to. And then he pointed out other connections to it. Yeah,
Right.
pretty interesting. But one of the weird bits about when we talk about the universe being a bit weird. So one of the things in it was a famous painting, like a Renaissance painting. It's got a lot of imagery in it, a lot of symbology. Yeah, an Italian one, very famous. If you watch the video, when you make yourself time to watch this, it's one of the best 1.5 hours.
Can I listen to it?
Because there's a lot of visual information. You can listen to it as well, but I would really highly recommend watching it.
Okay.
The guy's bringing a lot of good connections to what people are trying to do now. He shows certain parts of London where things had gone on, and all these very right. I never knew. This guy said something. Think about this one, right? You know how Switzerland were neutral in both the world wars, right?
Yep.
Right. So literally, Hitler's got the huge army in Switzerland. Said, "Oh, we're not interested. Okay, don't worry, we won't invade you." Right? Which, if you think about it, is nonsense. Right? If I'm going to take over, I want to take over Europe. Some little tin pot country is not going to stop me, right? Why would I go, okay, I want to invade you, right? It doesn't make sense.
It's like being a bully, being nice to the weakest kid in the playground sort of thing.
Yeah. So there must be some other reason. In terms of Switzerland, it's where all the money is. It's where all the gold is, right? I believe Harold Wilson used to refer to them as the gnomes of Zurich, the people with the money. They're the ones that decide, right? Soros, Mr. Soros, and Mr. Schwab, right? He's in Switzerland, right? This guy's saying that, the Corporation of London, right? The City of London.
Yeah.
Right. That's not England.
Yeah, but I kind of know what you mean. It's a bit like, is it like the state of Washington in America?
Yeah. And the Vatican. Well, they are meant to be the three cities, but yeah, it's on land, but it's not England. Okay.
Not the state of Washington. Is it the city?
No, Washington State's on the other side. But DC, District of Columbia.
Washington, DC, right.
Yeah. So he's saying even when the Normans invaded, they never went into the Corporation of London. That's 1,000 years ago. So that place has been autonomous for at least 1,000 years.
Why didn't the Normans go into the City of London?
We'd love to know. Why not? Why didn't they go in there? Who's in there? What are they afraid of? What could you be afraid of? He didn't say what it was, because he thought what it was, but it was I'd never heard that before. Right.
So that place, it's like almost like that's like controlled by the Illuminati or whatever.
Something, yeah. It's funny because, and so anyway, so this painting, this Renaissance painting, 2 days later, I go to volunteer at the charity shop, and the manager there, she's got a new mouse mat. Somebody donated a mouse mat, and it's this painting. Right? It's a little bit weird. And then when I went to
Just by coincidence.
Well, is it a coincidence, or is it the universe? Is it whoever programs the Matrix? Are they taking a piss? I then go to the bookshelf where they've got all the newly donated books that haven't been priced, and one of the books on there just happens to be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right.
And he's just mentioned it in this podcast. So you get these really weird things. So we went out yesterday. We went out to an area near us for a meal, and I think I told you before. Every so often, I keep seeing twins. Right, this has been going on for about 5 years. I'll see sets of twins, maybe 2 in a day, maybe 4, maybe So my girlfriend knows
sets of twins in a day. You see?
Yeah. I've seen 2 within 10 seconds at one point. That freaked the person out I was with, because I said we need to see another set now, and there they were. Right.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Well, because most people who are twins, they don't always hang out together all the time. Right. And then somebody said, but it could be to do with a lot of people who've had fertility treatment. They tend to have a higher percentage of twins. Right. This is a thing. This is a known thing. If you're infertile, you have fertility treatment, you're more likely to have twins. Anyway.
Okay.
We're outside this place having some food, and my girlfriend said, look, I've just seen 2 pregnant women. And then there was another one. And then a couple of minutes later, this other lady came across. When was the last time you saw a lot of pregnant women? You see, one of the
No.
goalkeepers at Millwall, 26 years old, died a couple of days ago.
Yes, I posted
Yeah,
about that
yeah. Played a
yesterday.
game of football on the 5th of June, dead within a week, right? More or less.
Yeah,
Sudden.
I was looking into that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Just as a as an exercise, can I see if I can share that video?
Yeah, and do it. Yeah, yeah. Why not?
Screen share, just
I
so
was
we
watching.
can, make this a bit more like interactive, everybody.
I said to my girlfriend, even me and Tommy aren't actually going to watch it. Does that make it? Does that
No,
make it?
I watch it back when I'm editing it.
No, I know it's a joke, but does that make it -2 at that point?
Oh, let me see here.
See if we can get back to 0.
Ba, 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 ba. Now then, so I think you go to more and share screen. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
There you go. Nice. That works.
and let me just see this here. Yeah, see if it works.
26, man. Come on. Will you get copyrighted if you use their thing? I would just go for an article, dude, rather than that. But yeah, very, very odd. And and as somebody has commented on Facebook, have you seen any politicians died suddenly? No.
So hang on a sec. Let me just play it out.
Yeah, you be careful you don't get copyrighted for stuff. It's all marvelous, mate.
Yeah, they both looked a bit uncomfortable there because I think they I mean it's just what I hate about it is the gaslighting because
Yeah,
it's like he's fucking 26 years old. In any other situation you'd be like, so he's we think he might have had a heroin overdose, we think he maybe have done this. But I watched an interview with him and he was actually a very English sounding person because I was expecting this like foreigner,
yeah,
but he looked very like he was very English, he was very like he looked very smart. He just looked very like clued up. And it's possible that he's not even a vaccine death, right? But
yeah.
we should
But
be like asking
this
like
fighter
questions. We should
died
demand like
suddenly.
what's going
They
on.
say, yeah, they keep saying died suddenly, but they never say what of.
And short illness is another thing that they use.
Right. So you've got that. You've also got, you talk about people being uncomfortable. There's a wonderful clip of a woman on Sky, I think Sky as well, where she was reading out the Met Office put out a statement saying that last May, right, is the warmest on record since records began in 1884, and she laughed.
All right. Will that be
She
on YouTube?
It was done. It was on that guy's channel, the guy called We've Got a Problem. If you've ever seen him, he puts short videos up where he comments on it. But he
We've
said
got a
even
problem.
when the propaganda is so ludicrous that even the actors start laughing because she laughed. Everybody
Mm.
knows that May was cold, right? Everybody knows that May was cold.
Okay, let me just. I think this might be it here.
The idea that it's the warmest on record is just dumb. It's so dumb, you know. And then you've
Mm.
got the language that they're using now. So in on little headlines, it will say in June we're going to have a mega heat wave of 25 degrees, but 25 degrees is not a heat wave. You know, that's a nice summer day.
Here
30
we
degrees maybe. But
here we
when
go.
they
Is
start,
this it, by the way?
I don't think that's the one. But she's going to laugh, right? If you just watch her, she'll giggle. She's giggling. Very interesting. Very interesting. When even they can't keep a straight face, because we know you can go outside, Tommy, right? But they have to keep going with their narrative.
But you think they would like pivot if it's not like it's not working
Yeah,
and just
exactly.
be
But they're going. Yeah, but they're going for a climate lockdown, aren't they? That's the next thing, or carbon tax credits, whatever. You know.
I don't think they'll do the same lockdown. I think that if they're going to do something, they'll do it kind of in more subtle ways, like the way that they're
Well,
doing the ULEZ
sort of. But
fines
you've
and
got in
stuff.
Australia, they've just shut down a load of locked down a load of farms for avian flu.
What's happened there then?
An outbreak of avian flu. Looks like you're not going to get any protein, right? If they can get avian flu, you can't have chickens, right? If they can create enough food shortages, they can start giving you their crap, their bugs, whatever, right? In that talk, in that donut talk, the guy talks about numerology and using stuff. And what he uses, I haven't got one, is a dice. So on a dice, you get the 5 on a dice, you get the 5 dots. And it's really, they use it as a, not as a metaphor, but it's a symbol for how they do things. He said, but if you get the 5 and you put a line through it, you get an X, right? So, Elon Musk rebrands Twitter as X, right? The papers are talking about disease X, right? That's meant to be the next pandemic, isn't it? Disease X.
I haven't actually seen it on the paper, but
Go and
I've
look
heard
for
the
it.
Bitcoin.
Just type in disease X, boom, up it comes. That's the next pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, try it again. Just put disease X and see what happens. So, like I say, what this guy was talking about in this interview was fantastic.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
Disease
There you
X.
go.
What
See,
it
look,
is and what it isn't.
what it isn't. Yeah.
Should we be worried about it?
Yeah. Now you can get a
What
combined
you need to know.
flu jab. No, we shouldn't be worried about it. I think more people realize that now. You speak to more people and they just go, yeah, that was nonsense, wasn't it? You're like, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I uh, I don't but depending on the context, I won't mention it because I can just if the person disagrees, I know it's going to be like a triggering argument. So I'm like at work, I don't mention it, and then even if I'm out socializing, meeting new people, if I detect that they're going to be like sort of not liking me for not believing in it, I actually won't mention it now because I don't think it's worth it. You know, maybe during the time I would have mentioned it because I had like principles. I'm going to mention it, but now
Yeah.
it's just like it's only going to cause an argument with some people. And what's the
Possibly.
point of doing that?
You just say to them, look, go and do the research, dude. Go and do the research.
They don't though. I mean,
I
like
know.
even really smart people are not doing it, and
Yeah.
it's like it's like yeah, I guess it is like trauma-based mind control from 2020. It's a bit like
Yeah.
9/11 where it's like you can't question it. It was such a big thing. It's just almost a bit like
Well, that's funny. There's somebody put up a thing. There's a wonderful. I don't think I'd heard of it. Netflix had two series, a cartoon series called Inside Job. Have you heard of this?
no.
Oh, it's basically a cartoon version of the Illuminati and what they do. And it's about this girl who works on this secret base where they do all sorts of different things. But there's a scene in it where she's walking down a corridor, and she goes, "Wake up, sheeple!" And what it is, it's sheep with people's heads because they're experimenting on them, but they call them sheeple.
Right.
Come on, it's funny. Sorry, wake up, sheeple, and they all wake up. It's got every kind of Illuminati thing in it. It's just that it's like we are running the world and we're going to tell you. It's so funny.
So what is that like
It's called
a
Inside
movie
Job.
or
It's a cartoon series.
cartoon? Inside Job cartoon.
It's kind of like Rick and Morty, but with even more overtones. Rick and Morty's got some very clever stuff in it. Some very, very clever stuff that people don't realize.
Okay.
I've got to try and find. I think this is on Daily Motion. I might try and sign up so I can actually watch it. Somebody put the trailer up because there's a trailer where they have a get together and all these people groups turn up. The reptoids and the Atlanteans, and he goes, and of course we've got our arch enemy, the Illuminati, and they just
Let me just play this. Hang on a sec. This one, yeah.
Yeah. Look, wake up, sheeple.
So
that is brilliant.
Was that made before 2020 or?
No, I don't. Oh, I don't think so. No. But people used that phrase a long time ago. Right? Sheeple is an very old school truther community, because whatever you want to call it. That's anyone who's a sheep who just blindly follows. Right? Somebody put a really good meme up recently. He said, if you're arguing with somebody like that, like you're saying about these people, he said, you're not arguing with them. You're arguing with the TV. That's what you're really arguing with, is the television, because the television is what programmed them. So I think he said the television isn't going to debate you and it doesn't care.
It's also that, like, one comment that I heard from somebody at work was why are you saying that none of that stuff in 2020 really happened? And that's something that Mariana Thingy said, like that we think that the pandemic was entirely staged, but we're not quite saying that. We're saying it was a psychological operation, and so we're saying it happened. The people putting masks on it happened. We're not saying it didn't happen, but we're saying the whole intention behind it was a lie and it was a psychological operation. But I think
Yeah.
that thing about it being a psychological operation, it's too it's too out there, isn't it? It is. I mean, it was hard for me to accept at
No,
first.
because what you could say to those people is, if they're not old enough, and so if you went back to 9/11, it's everybody remembers where they were when that happened, right?
Hmm.
And everybody was focused on it. And it's the same as all these kind of things. If for these people, if they're doing a ritual and you're focused on it, you're giving it energy, and you're giving it the okay, even if you don't know.
Mhm.
All these Super Bowl halftime performances and Grammys and MTV stuff and all these horrific videos. If you're watching it, then you're giving it the okay.
Mm.
You know? Or
Yes.
refer them to the 2012 opening ceremony at the Olympics, where they had loads of nurses dancing around children in bed.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually I saw that again recently, and that is shocking. What was
The
in
one
that?
that's
That
the
was
real
definitely pre.
better one than that for me was, and no one ever spots it, when they did the handover in Beijing, right,
Yeah.
in 2008. They did the handover for the Olympics, and Britain had a 10-minute segment, right, where they had British things. So they had a double-decker bus going round, and it had David Beckham on it, and it had, ironically, Jimmy Page, right, Mr. Crowley himself playing a song. But it came into the stadium. It was a red London double-decker bus, right, and it went around. And at one point, the top of it opened out in
Mhm.
pieces, right? Which looks exactly like the London double-decker bus that blew up outside the Tavistock,
Uh, right. Okay.
right? And then there were these dancers who danced around and fell on the floor and pretended to be dead. And a little girl in a hijab walked onto the bus,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly. Go and watch
Right.
it. You've got what was her name? Leona Lewis, the singer. She comes up on a pillar with a big gold dress. Jimmy Page plays a whole lot of love, right? David Beckham kicks a football. Really, really
And
weird. But the bus.
Wasn't Russell Brand on some kind of a big sort
Oh,
of
that was in the actual Olympics. This is in 2008 in China.
2008. Okay.
This is
Right.
the handover. But the bus, this is 3 years after 7/7,
Mm.
right? The top of the bus opens out just like it did when it blew up. How sick can you get?
Mm.
And no one ever said anything, right? If you watch the Olympic ceremony, the part of it, they actually have a phoenix rising from the flames at one point,
Mm.
which is heavy symbology, you know.
Mm. And
And
is
the
that
bit,
is that
and the bit
programming?
where they bring up the ground, and you get there's a excuse me, there's a period, there's a section of it that's dedicated to the Industrial Revolution. So England is all green and whatever, and shepherds and stuff, and then these chimneys come up. What they used to call in the song the Dark Satanic Mills. That's in the song Jerusalem. And then these workers they come from out of the ground,
Mhm.
right? A bit like the idea of the mud flood, but that's a whole other.
Ah,
Right, a bit like where if you go into I think it's the Hopi culture in the west of America, they talked about when their last cataclysm happened, the ant people came out the ground and helped them,
right.
and the Hopi Indians had all these crazy prophecies. There's a film called Coyle that was made about America. It's like not a documentary. It's kind of an odd. You'd have to see it. It's all time lapse or speeded up photography of parts of America of the way life is. And this Indian tribe had all these ancient phrases, and one of them is that one day the earth would be destroyed by like a canister of ashes that would come from the sky. Well, it's a nuclear bomb.
Mm.
So I'm going off on one, but there are all these different things, and there's loads of places under the ground where there are people, you know, or have been people. Funny enough, today I went right. So I went to get my hair cut, and my hairdresser's on the other side of London now. He's up near London City Airport in this crazy derelict building that's being renovated by some, people.
You've got a hairdresser. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. I
Sorry,
don't.
yeah. Sorry. That's HAI. Anyway, sorry. Um, bastard. Think of all the money you saved. Spend it on
Mm.
porn. And this building that they're doing, the guy that's working on it, who's running it, was really interesting because he started talking about what he wanted to do there. They've saved this building and the local council own it, and they're trying to bring in other stuff for the community. And where it is, it's really in an odd place. It's next to London City Airport exit from the underground, or DLR, and on the other side is the Elizabeth line. Okay, and what they've done is they've built a huge wall along this road, and the line is hidden behind it. And then behind that is Tate and Lyle's factory. So Tate and Lyle's are sponsoring this building, I think, or did at some point, all different things. So we were talking about different stuff, and I was telling my hairdresser about, tunnels under London and different places. And at one point, this guy said, "Yeah," he goes, "There's this building's supposed to have in the basement somewhere an entrance to a tunnel that goes over there into the Tate and Lyle building." Right? And then one of the other guys who's working on this thing said, "Oh, we want to do this and this. And ideally, we'd like to build like a really good community gym to get people fit and ready for when the bailiffs come." Right? Because he said, when you've got 1% of the population own 95% of the wealth, they're going to come for the rest. So his belief is that at some point, bailiffs are going to come to everybody to take their stuff. Right?
What to make it 100%?
Yeah. So by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Own nothing and be happy.
Right.
And why do you think they put that they put that out as a slogan? I mean, wouldn't they have more chance of doing it if they didn't like leave these clues in this, or are they trying to program us that it's going to happen?
It depends what happens to precipitate that being a thing. Right? It may not be their doing. Right? There may be there, in theory, the reason why it's getting colder is we're heading for this grand solar minimum. Right? And like almost touching on an ice age, which if we do, there certainly isn't going to be enough food or land, and people are going to start killing each other. So they need to get the population down before this thing happens.
People are going to start killing each other.
Well, what do you think people are going to do when they've got no food?
Yeah. Actually, I was listening to something about this earlier today. It wasn't about the details of what's going to happen, but it was. If you know that guy Owen Cook, who I made a video about him, but he was saying at some point in the future, just based on what he knows about human psychology, humans will turn on each other.
Yeah.
And he said like one way that he is like he gets through this because he believes that after we die, the soul goes somewhere else. So it's like if you turn into that kind of person who has no like morals or anything, then you're when after you die, you're like that spirit will go into the next whatever.
Okay.
I don't like it's just a theory, but then that's like a way where you can kind of keep.
I was thinking about that word recently, right? They've got a sequel to Beetlejuice coming out.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, it looks quite good actually. Hopefully, it's politically incorrect, like the original. But the tagline for that film was "The name in laughter from the hereafter," right? So what's the hereafter, right? It's after you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
The here after, not somewhere else. Here after.
Hereafter.
Here
So
after
right.
you die. Here after, right? I like that thing I said about where people talk about people dying and then you're deceased. Well, to cease is to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So to decease would be to unstop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You die and then you're deceased. So maybe you go to the next level. Maybe there are levels to it, right? It's all about
it's possible, isn't it, that there is something after this life, yeah.
We watched recently, I'd never actually seen the whole film. We watched They Live.
Yeah.
Have you watched
it? I've seen clips of it though.
It's on YouTube for free. It's actually worth watching. And there's a piece in it where the sort of the two, no, they're not heroes, but the two guys who are fighting against suddenly realize the aliens are running stuff. They get into the base and they go in, and there's a place where they're having like a banquet, and it's the head alien is talking to all these rich businessmen who are helping them, right? These people are sold out to the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually an old story. If you go back to Roswell, that's meant to be what happened at Roswell. Is aliens came, the American government had a chat with them and they said, well, we can give you this and this, but we want people to experiment on. And we're meant to have been sold out at that point, if you go with the Roswell story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this film, this guy's saying, "Oh, profits are up, and you're all doing well. You've all made money, and everything's going great." He goes, "And by this film's made in 1988." He goes, "By the year 25, by 2025, our plan will come together."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're like,
You
"It's
said
next."
this on the last
Yeah,
podcast.
sorry, yeah, it's next.
But I mean, I've heard dates like that before, like, and they haven't come to fruition. So
No, not
those,
exactly. But you've got, but you like we're saying, we're talking about the film Soylent Green today. So Soylent Green, that's set in 2022.
mhm,
Right, and so they were starting to introduce bugs and Impossible Burgers and all that nonsense food then.
mhm,
Right, so that's a thing, and there is a company called Soylent Green. I mean, so it's a joke, but it's you know. So you don't know. I mean, but 2025, that was the date that was in that Deagle.com thing that scared
mhm,
everybody at the start of the lockdown with the impossibly low figures for population.
mhm,
Something was like maybe loads of people got killed, or maybe we got invaded by lots of fighting age men.
mhm. Who knows?
Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's hard. It's gonna, like, if I was watching this as a movie, it would be like an interesting movie, like thinking like what's gonna happen next.
Well, maybe it
Um,
is.
like another thing is it could be a simulation. But yeah, another thing I was thinking recently was, say if it was a simulation, this is a computer game.
Mhm.
The best thing to do would be to actually have a really exciting life and like really, really try and go after my goals and all our goals, because like that would be exciting instead of like what I'm if we're in a computer game, what I'm doing a lot of the time is being in a computer game and going in looking at some other game and like looking at what's going on instead of just being like, this is actually, I could be doing, look, I could be going traveling now. I could be like,
If you've got to say, it's a hell of a simulation, right?
I
If it
mean, it
is,
is in a way. It's just like it is a type of simulation, whatever it is. It's some kind of a matrix, some type of a thing where, like, the fact that I'm able to like just go on the internet and like talk to you, there is something quite amazing about that. Um, in itself,
yeah, you've got this
even
like
if it's not an actual computer game.
all the unusual phenomena that happen to some people, of predicting the future or hearing voices or connect or seeing people who've passed on or whatever. It's all there was. That was it. Somebody was saying about the thing about They Live. So the idea of the glasses apparently comes from. I think it was in the Second World War. They developed a type of infrared goggles for snipers, I think.
Mhm.
And these people started freaking out and shooting at things that weren't in theory there. So they had to take them away because these guys were seeing into the infrared. So they were seeing things that are there and trying to kill them, whatever they were, right?
Mhm.
But like when you watch a cat when it sees something and you can't see anything. There's loads of videos of cats doing weird stuff, but one of them is the cat going
Yeah.
looking around. You're like, well, there's not. What are you doing? There's nothing there. Well, there is something there, but you can't see it.
Mm. Different. Like we only see like a very small percentage of the electromagnetic
Yeah,
spectrum,
yeah,
what's available.
yeah.
So, because I haven't had any weed for a few weeks, and actually for the last week I haven't had any alcohol or weed, and that's the first time I've done that in ages. So
Okay,
that's
fair enough.
positive. But like one thing that happens when you don't smoke weed is your dreams come back, and
Mm.
I was having like I was having some like really mental dreams, and I'll write them down sometimes when I get up just to make sure if there's any. But they were crazy, and it was almost like I was just slipping into a different dimension when I sleep, like going back to some source, and it's
Well,
like
yeah,
showing me
I
something
think
to
that is,
then.
yeah, because it must be a. I've had loads of dreams like that. You should. It's good to write them down. You should go and check some of them out because a lot of them have um, reference to how your life is. Like if you've got obstacles or you're trying to run and you can't run, or all these different kind of, you get some really weird ones.
Mm,
I had a really weird one years ago where, I was watching. I was somebody and they were going to get shot by someone, and then I jumped and I was over. I was somebody else watching it happen. You know. Sorry, completely sideways, but that thing you're saying about the guy talking about human nature, right? I watched a wonderful podcast the other day. It's Martin Ware, the guy from Heaven 17 and the Human League, and he's interviewing Gary Newman. He said, they both make electronic music, but they've never met, and
mhm,
most of it's about music and the times they had and whatever. And there's one part, if you don't know Gary Newman's history, when he had those number ones in the late 70s, early 80s, he made a lot of money, and he was really into flying. So he bought planes, he did aerobatics, he had shows and all sorts of stuff. And one of the things he did was he flew around the world with another guy. They'd fly around the world in a little plane and whatever. And he had some, odd adventures. And he started relaying one where he said that he was with this guy. They're flying at night over the Atlantic, very high up. He said, beautiful. You see all the stars and the engines cut out on the plane. Both the engines cut out, right? And they start kind of trying to do stuff, but they realize they've got about 15 minutes before they hit the water. And he started thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Even if we don't break up on impact, we've got to get out and get the life raft, and we'll probably get attacked by sharks anyway. So like, what, and then he said he suddenly realized, well, but to get to the life raft, you have to go through, get out of your seat and go through the back of the plane, and it's full of petrol tanks because they need the fuel to do this flight. So they've taken all the seats out. And then he realized if he gets to this life raft, only one of them can really use it. So he's going to have to kill the other guy in order to live. Right? Quite a heavy thing for a pop interview, but there we go. And he goes, but what happened is as they started losing altitude, the ice that had formed on these engines melted and the engine started again. Right? And then they carried on. And he said what happened is at some point during this, I don't know how many months they were doing it for, whatever, they had a few bus stops, and so they parted in a bad way. They didn't, didn't want to see each other again. And he goes, but he had a chance to speak to him years later at some event, and he went up and I felt guilty the whole of these years after. I always felt guilty about thinking about killing this guy. I can't believe it. And he went and told him the story. And the guy said, don't worry, I was thinking the same thing. Because that's what happens. Right? There's a joke about two guys in India going, and he said, oh, I hope a tiger doesn't come along. I don't think we could outrun him. He goes, I don't have to outrun the tiger. I just have to outrun you.
But if that's what I mean about like if you believe that like after this life we're going into something else, and your kind of morals in this life are more important, then maybe that in that moment you'd be able to actually give up your life to somebody else if you felt as long as if they were an older person, then maybe not. Like if you maybe like you want the younger person to stay alive, maybe if it's like a really young person versus a really elderly person.
People have what do you call it? It's a primal thing, isn't it, to try and stay alive? Which would be odd if you're religious. A friend of mine, quite a few years ago, I haven't seen him for a while actually. Somebody else I know did a tarot reading for him. Okay, and he really didn't like it. And I asked her why, and she said, "Well, he did something else in one of his past lives. He did something really bad, And the thing was, when she did readings for other people, she was always correct. Other people I know have had readings and go, you know what she said about me was correct. And so, it really upset him. But it was like, yeah, you're still running from some other shit you did a long time ago,
How does he know that what happened in his past life, though?
He doesn't, I don't think, but he must have some inkling of something. He's fairly misanthropic. It's funny, he's the one that I haven't heard from in about 3 years now. And yet when the lockdown started and we were online chatting on Facebook, he just said to me, because he lives down by the coast, he goes, look, he says, just let them have their colour. Oh
yeah, you told me this guy got quite depressed.
Yeah, he was right about that. And then, as it was obvious that there was more to it than that, then he because he thought it was just going to be they release a disease, it kills a load of people, thin the herd, will carry on, right? Which is one way to look at it, because that's how they look at it. Once you understand that that's how they look at it, then you feel different about things. Like you're saying about enjoying your life more instead of worrying about stuff that is out of your control. Just go, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to be nice to this person, or whatever. I had a chat the other day, really funny. We're going along the road here, and somebody they were parked up on the side street with passengers, and they sort of moved backwards, and they almost knocked this chap down. And then he kind of went, oh, and then they moved forward a bit, and then they started moving again. But instead of kind of going forward, they started to try and do one of the oddest 3-point turns I've ever seen, jutting out into a main road. Right? And I looked at this other guy around. I said, "Oh, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it?" And he was, and he was from Algeria, and we were chatting about how traffic works in Algeria, right? Because we both watched this guy. I said, "That's still a bit." He goes, "Yeah, but in Algeria, people would ignore the traffic lights. They don't care." I said, What are the accidents like?" He says, "Less than here, less than here." Right? It was really interesting conversation. So you do meet some very interesting people,
Hmm.
and have some very weird little conversations.
Yeah, sorry, one of the things that uh I just was looking at because I'd written something down was, yeah, that so the guy Owen Cook, he was saying, like, one of the main, well, I wanted to be giving up these things like alcohol and like weed and say using the internet, for like sort of doom scrolling, all this kind of bad habits.
Yeah,
Like, I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I've kind of like gone on and then off and then on and then off. But like recently, I've really felt like I really wanted to really get like good with that, of like just doing things which would actually benefit my life. And like he was saying in the video, he was saying that like if you are going to be like criticizing the elites for treating us like animals, and just that, then you've got to like take back your own essence and like not be doom scrolling on the internet, and not like drinking alcohol and like numbing yourself, and not because they're it's like a self-feeding loop between the people who are kind of
yeah,
the low down people who are just doing this, and they think of us like animals. So if you're going to be against it, or you've got to stop acting like an animal, and not give in to all your urges, and actually go just like focus on like the five things in your life which could actually make your life better, and sort of focus on your purpose and meaning behind life.
mm.
Anyway, I thought I
It's
just
kind of
that
odd
I
though,
thought that was,
because the elites are the one people who've got the money and the power to indulge their urges to the extreme, right?
yeah, I guess they're just
So,
drinking more expensive
I guess what
alcohol
he's
than
saying,
I am.
try and be a better version of you, and not like them. That's kind of where you want to be.
Mm.
Just not low down. I think a lot more people are like that. If you, like I said, when you're nice to people, they suddenly pop up a bit. Like this chat, we just started talking. So, well, that's a bit. We both saw something that was a bit silly, and both agreed that it was not a clever piece of driving. I think more people are like that.
More people are like, what? Sorry.
They're just be decent people if you engage with them. It depends where you are. If you just kind of do something slightly differently. I'm trying to think of another example actually. Um, when we went to this burger place, we were queuing up, and there was a chap in front of us, Indian couple, and I said, "Oh, are you waiting for the queue?" He said, "No, I was going to ask. I was going to tell you we're not. I was just about to tell you." And what had happened is where we were, it's up in Chiswick. We sat down for a while. Nice afternoon, nice-ish,
Mm.
and police car went flying past, then another one, then a plainclothes unmarked car, then another one, and all lights blaring and whatever. Then there was an ambulance come back and something else. And I was chatting to this guy. I said, "Did you see all those cars earlier? Is that a bit weird? Is it? It's almost that's gaslighting, right? Like they drive around and put the sirens on to make you think that there are more worse things happening than there are, right?"
Do they?
And yeah, it's a thing. They were doing it during lockdown. Yes, because if you think there's sirens all the time, oh my god, it's so terrible out there.
But aren't there actually more sirens because people are having short illnesses and stuff?
Possibly, yeah. Suddenly. But he started talking about during the first lockdown, he was working. I can't remember what he said the company was, but they were connected to one of the pharmaceutical companies and the police. And he said the police were driving around with their sirens on to make it look like they were working because there was nothing to do, which is
Right.
a very common thing, right?
Is it?
Bill Hicks did a thing about it years ago where he said he worked somewhere where they said, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing anything? He goes, there's nothing to do. He goes, and pretend like you're working.
Mm.
Right? I actually experienced that in real life once. The Marks and Spencer's warehouse in 1985. They had a visit from some bigwig, and they said, just go around and push trolleys around. Just do anything. Just make it look like you're busy.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to do that, like rarely on the postman job where there's not much letters left to do, so you just sort of walk slower. But
But
like, do you have a job, by the way?
not at the moment. No, just the volunteering. No.
Wow. So you
I
you're
mean, I
pretty
did,
you're doing pretty well for yourself, aren't you? I mean, like living in
well,
London, got
I
your own house.
Yeah, but I paid off that mortgage a long time ago, dude. I knew something was.
But you got like all the time to yourself. I mean, that's great, isn't it? In your 50s to be doing that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, ultimately, what you're doing is you're working, right? You're giving out your energy to get money to get things. So I started to sell things to get the money to not work.
Mm.
Right? If you want to more time, buy less things that you don't need.
Mm.
You
Or live
know,
in a van.
we were talking about food the other day, weren't we? Having the 1 meal a day or something, cut it down.
Yeah.
Right?
But don't
So
you want like thing is I want money to say buy stuff too. Do you not want to buy stuff?
it depends what it is. I picked up loads of different stuff in the charity shop. I had because I spent all those years working in music retail. I got loads of vinyls and CDs, and some that are worth a lot of money now somehow. So I'm going to start selling them. But you just work through things, man. You know? I've done a few jobs. I
Hmm.
did that job at TNT when that was going. That was interesting. So I do know what it means to post letters. Very odd.
Our price.
Yeah, a long time ago. That's a long time ago. HMB, you know.
Yeah.
I did time at the Royal Mail sorting office
Oh, did you?
at oh, what's the name of it now? It's the big place in London. Wow, it's gone now. There's a big sorting office in the centre of London, up near Chancery Lane,
Okay. How long
and
ago was that?
it's about 5 6 years ago, just for Christmas. Again, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Learn
and
that you-
also it's not like some people think minimum wage jobs are a waste of time. It's
Hmm.
not. I actually this postman job I've actually enjoyed it and it's been good exercise and I've been able to listen to stuff while I'm doing it. So it's I
You get
minimum wage jobs are not always bullshit if they're actually like the way you do the
is,
volunteering. It's
is
like
posting is that a minimum wage? Do they not get a reasonable amount now?
it's after tax it's about £10 something an hour. It's not good, but it's still been good for my mental health and etc. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're out and about. No one's telling you what to do. You know your job, right? You get paid to do the round. If there's 1,000 letters or 100, whatever, then you do the, you know.
But there's a lot of stuff where people are like, minimum wage jobs are bullshit, and that's what like the poor people are suffering like with the minimum wage jobs. But I think there is joy to be found in that too, even though you should try and make money in different ways, like maybe start a business and make more money. But
Yeah.
it's not just like shit life if you pick a job that resonates with you.
Well, there you go. That's it. Then, if you do something and you like you say, you're getting to exercise. No one's bothering you, right? No one's looking over your shoulder.
Mhm.
You're not really having to deal with the public. That's a big benefit, right?
Yeah.
And you get to listen to podcasts. And now that the sun's out, you might actually get some rays.
Mm. Yeah, I've gotten. I mean, like walking, like think it's something like 3,000, like 30,000 steps a day. So it's like it's just kept me in shape.
Yeah.
But more than that, it's just like socializing with like the lads there because they're all just like Yorkshire sort of lads and like just a good laugh, good banter.
Yeah.
And that is actually just little socializing, is good.
Yeah, but
Not not
people need that's the point. That's why they're trying to keep you away from people. People need contact.
social distancing. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be called psychological distancing. I was watching a thing the other day, a little clip, very interesting guy talking about. He said when you get a lighter, when you click down, I think the clicker, what it's doing, it's like a little hammer that has a little crystal in there, and that's what causes the spark, right? And he said this is the same effect as when you go to the beach because the shells are made of what is it, crystalline, something like that, crystallized structures. And he goes, when you stand on the beach in your bare feet, you're doing the same thing. You're generating this energy, and you've got the sunshine, and you've got the salt water, which is a very cleansing thing. He goes at the end of it. He goes, no one ever splits up at the beach.
Mm.
So again, it's interesting when you're talking about these different materials. It's like a grounding. I need to try and do. I need to make a space in my garden and just have some soil and go and stand on it. You know that you pick up this
I've
charge.
heard some
Yeah.
people that I know do that
The
a lot.
whole
Yeah.
thing of
No,
it
no shoes.
makes sense. The whole thing of wearing rubber shoes, the whole thing of stacking people in blocks of flats. Now, I went across on the Docklands Light Railway today. So you go from Bank and you go all the way out to near Stratford, all the way through the East End there. The amount of blocks of flats is just phenomenal. You know, it's happening all around London in different spots anyway, but over there, it's just everywhere. You know, big,
Mm,
8, 10 stories, 6 flats wide, block, another. You're like, where are the shops? Where's the amenities? Where's the open spaces for these poor people?
mm,
They haven't got anything. That's what they're doing. They're packing London full of people without building any extra stuff. Right?
mm,
I haven't been to Oxford Street for a while, but I'm sure if you go around Oxford Street now, it's going to be packed like it was at Christmas, like
mm.
really packed in like everywhere. And you're like, this isn't how it used to be. It never used to be like that.
Really, I mean, I always thought it was packed. I never really liked it around there.
Yeah,
Um,
especially at Christmas. You
so
know.
it's more packed.
Oh, I once went to visit a mate of mine who worked in Selfridges a long time after I'd finished there. And when I got in to Selfridges, which is a big building, I had to walk through like this to
All
get to
right.
him. Chat to him for 5 minutes, say, dude, I'm going home. I'm going away from this. I don't need this, whatever this is,
Mm.
Much
Al-
rather get the hell out of town and get away from people.
Although the flip side of that is that like I can say I could go out because I'm gonna be going out in Leeds on my own, quite a bit sober, and I can only really go out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in Leeds,
Mm.
really, because when there's people around, maybe a Wednesday, but not really. It tends to be young people. But I'm not. When I was in London, you could go out on a Monday as long as you were like in somewhere like Camden, and Monday night would be like a pretty
Like a
busy
fight.
night.
Yeah.
If you so that is there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of places like that, but then it's how much are you paying for? I'm trying to where we went recently for drinks. That was where did we go? Whatever it was.
Farmer's Greek.
I can't remember. It was about 7.50 for a beer and something for that, and we bought 3 things, and it was like £12, £13, and you're like, really? Wow. Right. So there
Mm.
is some, it is quite a lot of stuff is prohibitive. You can go out and, you know, even we went to Five Guys. There's other burger bars are available.
And that's 5G subliminal, isn't it? Five
Well,
five guys.
I talked with this guy. What he was talking about, the number 5 turns up a lot, like MI5. What's the 5 for, right?
Mm.
And other things that have the 5 in it. But yeah, the 5G, he was talking about that as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Because all these kind of things, all numbers and symbols have some other power.
Mm.
It's just that you don't know the language and you don't know what you're giving energy to.
Mm.
You know, that's the problem.
I mean,
There's a
how that the Jam for Freedom Festival had the all-seeing eye on the back of the
right. You
stand.
said yeah,
Well, like
and the
I know
all-seeing eye, the all-seeing eye, and the non-paying guy.
nice one. No, I mentioned that to some people at the like Freedom Festival I was at recently. I was like, and they were kind of like, well, the reason people are still going back there this year is because all the people there, they really like them, and they don't really mind who's running it because they just want, they're doing it for the artists that they respect, and they're doing it for the people that they respect. So it's just they're doing it for the people. But I wonder whether that stuff like has an influence on the consciousness or not.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Don't go to it.
Well, I'm not going to go to it, but like it's like
It's,
I wonder for the
it's
people
like,
who don't have a problem with what they're doing,
yeah.
can they still go there, enjoy it, share love and everything, and it not be any kind of a
Well, no, because if that's what that is, it's like Glastonbury with the pyramid stage, right? When Jay-Z was there
that's
doing that.
another one, yeah, the pyramid stage. But
Um,
can he not go? I had a really good time at Glastonbury when I went in
when you're
2007.
doing this at the pyramid, you are giving your energy to something. You don't know it. You
But
really,
can't like you could a pyramid like you could maybe, for example, like like Stand in the Light festival. I heard some people were saying that the light could be the light of Lucifer,
could
but then but
most
then
likely
but
yes.
then but I don't think it is. But the light could just be, because people talk about the light of consciousness. It could
You're
just be
going back
that.
to the
So
same
how do
thing.
we know? Your
Yeah, but the
triangle
whole
is
new
quite a big.
age, movement is meant to be based on that, isn't it? It's a trick, right?
But,
David
but
Icke,
that would mean that the Standing Light Festival was organized by shills, and I don't think it is.
not necessarily. They just haven't realised what these phrases mean. Okay, that's the point. They haven't realised is what these they do. A
But they
lot
can
of
mean two things, can't
stuff,
they?
yeah, but a lot of people use stuff innocently. Yeah, but the whole thing about the light. Somebody was saying in a crime film when they, in a crime film when they want to get something out of somebody, they do this. All right, they put the light in their face. So light isn't such a great thing. If somebody's interrogating you and they do this, it's going to work on you at some point. It's going to have an effect on you. So maybe the light's not. Somebody was saying, yeah, the whole thing when you die, people say, oh, you see the light. They said, don't go to the light. It's a trick. So who knows? A
I
lot
know,
of
but
people.
the things can have two meanings, though, can't they? It could be the
Yes,
light, like the
yes,
beauty of the light, or versus the light of Lucifer. It's two different things.
yeah.
Like a triangle in some, like when you're hitting a triangle, the instrument,
Mhm.
it could be a really positive thing. Like it's quite a generalized thing, isn't it? Like the triangle.
To a degree.
Hey,
Hey, sorry.
um,
I've got, funny enough, I picked up, we'll do a thing. I've got a book. You haven't got long left.
yeah, we got about 2 minutes. Then
This is a book
it's
that
gonna
turned
cut
up,
off.
and it's called a History of the Worshipful Company of Tobacco Pipe Makers and Tobacco Blenders. So there's a lot of worshipful companies that are like Masonic organizations, and they're all in the square mile, right? So they're outside of the UK. And this is a whole thing. It's got a history of it. And it's got, for example, the regalia that they wear. Okay. You can't see that. It's very Masonic. And it's also got a list of people. And one of them, who was the senior warden, was a guy called A.H. Dunhill. That's Alfred Dunhill of the Dunhill Tobacco Company. And that was in March 54. It's quite an interesting thing, actually. So you get a lot of stuff. Are we nearly done? Oh, shit, man.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I press M before the end, so it
To the
saves it on my hard
last
drive.
minute. Is anybody watching?
I don't know. I don't think so. But if you are watching, guys, thanks. And I'm gonna like upload this and do a timestamp. I think that
Okay.
was pretty good. We didn't run out of stuff to say. That's the main thing, isn't it? So I'm gonna log off. Is that
All right,
so?
mate. All right, my friend. This
I'll
is, yeah, we'll do another one, right?
yeah, I'll chat to you soon. Maybe in 2 weeks, or if I can't get someone for next week, a week.
Yeah,
But
you
I'll
know,
let you know, bro.
yeah. Let's see if we can get half a viewer.
Okay.